Welcome to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin. Here's the stories that we're following today, August 22nd, 2013. In Trinidad and Tobago, Fuad says guards must pay for stolen machine. In Dominica, election is nowhere close, says Prime Minister Skerrit. U.S. issues advisory for Cuba over cholera. And in Jamaica, Tweet says sorry to teachers. Details on these headlines and more when we return.
You take your car out. This is awesome.
It's time to grow up.
You're crazy.
Little while
Faster, go faster. Stop.
It'll all be alright.
I raised my son to be careful,
Hey, sweetie.
Hey, Mom.
but just to be safe,
So don't you worry.
I got a Subaru.
Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Coleman Subaru, 1710 North Alden Avenue, Ewing, New Jersey, or colemansubaru.com.
5 million customers use Leica Mobile for affordable international mobile calls, connecting over 2.5 million mobile calls daily, helping our customers stay in touch with their loved ones, whether they be in Asia, Africa, Europe, or the rest of the world. Every 5 seconds, a new Leica Mobile customer joins our growing family, helping you to make affordable international calls across the world. Leica Mobile. Call the world for less.
Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin. This segment of the news is sponsored by Emerald's Travel. In Trinidad and Tobago, Minister of Health Dr. Fuad Khan said yesterday that security at San Fernando General Hospital would be held accountable for the $5 million ultrasound machine that went missing 2 weeks ago from the operating theater on the second floor of the new wing. He said management had a system in place under which the security contractors, once found culpable, would be responsible for paying for the missing device. And I quote, "If anything goes missing, they have to pay for it," he said in an interview. He said it was also necessary to find out who stole the machine in the first place. Acting CEO of the Southwest Regional Health Authority, Dr. Shivanand Gopi Singh, said innovative security technologies and privately hired security guards manned the hospital. Contacted yesterday, Managing Director of the security agency, Keith Carrington, said he had no comment, adding that the police would have to investigate. Gopi Singh confirmed on Monday that the machine had been missing for the last 2 weeks and an official report had been made to the San Fernando police. Yesterday, Khan said he had a plan in mind to deal with such thefts in future. He said he was looking into implementing radio frequency identification devices, which are tags with barcodes connected to a networked system which would track all hospital machinery. The minister said another possibility is putting the devices on identification badges of members of staff who work in sensitive areas to determine when things leave the compound, through which exit, and possibly with whom. Items to be outfitted with the RFID would include pharmaceuticals as well. In doing so, we can track when and where items entered and left the system, he said. He said the RFID measure was not in response to the disappearance of the ultrasound machine, as he had been looking into the new technology for some time now. He said, however, that the missing machine has added a sense of urgency to the proposed plan. He said another consideration would be to set up security camera system along the corridors of the hospital. Gopi Singh said CCTV cameras were already set up at strategic points in the hospital, but none near the scene of the incident in the new wing. He added that the back exit of the new wing was also not well lit and there was no camera there, so if the machine was stolen, it was by someone who knew the hospital well. He asked how a machine of such a considerable size could be moved around without anyone raising any alarm. Gopi Singh said the machine was portable and regularly moved throughout the hospital to access patients. And I quote, "If you see a medical person moving it around the building, it's not out of the ordinary," he said. He added that several medical personnel would have access to the operating theater, including 3 shifts of doctors, nurses, and attendants. Khan said instances of disappearing equipment were normal, but this was the first time something so big has gone missing. Gopi Singh too said it was not normal for a machine that size to disappear, adding in his 34 years at the hospital this was the first. Even though the machine was portable, Gopi Singh described it as sizable and could not fathom how it could leave the building undetected. He added that it would have taken more than one person to move it and a pickup truck to transport it, as it could not fit in a car trunk. He said it could also be possible the machine was still in the hospital building. When asked if tabs were kept on the machine as it was moved about from room to room, Gopi Singh said it was mandatory for personnel to sign a book each time. In the Dominican Republic, the opposition United Workers' Party may have additional time to prepare for the next general elections. That's because Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has indicated that general elections will not be held anytime soon. Elections are constitutionally due in May of 2015. However, there have been speculations in recent times that elections may be held sometime this year. The UWP has been hosting a series of public meetings in various communities across the island to inform their supporters and the country of their plans. So far, they have held at least 3 meetings in Pottersville, Point Michael, and Castle Bruce, among others. Although the Dominica Freedom Party has not said much so far regarding their plans for the upcoming elections, they have indicated that they will contest. The Prime Minister also noted that the opposition called for elections in 2004 and 2009 but were unprepared when it was called. The Prime Minister also called on those with interest in contesting general elections to pay their dues. The United States has issued an advisory for travelers to Cuba after several foreign visitors were sickened by cholera in recent weeks. In a security message dated Tuesday, the U.S. Interest Section in Havana recommended visitors and U.S. citizens living on the island avoid untreated water, street food, and under or uncooked dishes. We urge you to follow public health recommendations and guidelines, such as safe food and water precautions and frequent hand washing to help prevent cholera infection, the diplomatic mission said in a statement published online. The 51-year embargo against Cuba bars most American tourists to the island, but hundreds of thousands of Cuban Americans make legal family visits each year, and increasing numbers of U.S. citizens are visiting through licensed cultural exchanges. According to the Pan American Health Organization, there have been 5 confirmed cholera cases associated with a history of travel to Cuba in July and August. An Italian, 2 Venezuelans, and 2 Chileans. At least 3 of them visited Havana. Authorities last summer acknowledged a rare cholera outbreak originating in eastern Cuba after many years when it was unheard of on the island. They said at the time that the disease had run its course after inflicting 417 people and killing 3. In January, the government announced 51 more non-fatal cases in the capital, but there has been no official word of new cases since then. In Havana, resident Carlos Rodriguez was not concerned, and I quote, "If there were to be cholera, the health ministry has an action plan with a super strict system of isolating infected people," Rodriguez says. "So far, I haven't had any news about there being any cholera." Tourism is a vital part of Cuba's wobbly economy, bringing in more than $2.5 billion in 2011, according to the most recent statistics available. Cholera is a waterborne disease, and it can kill its victims quickly through severe dehydration, but it is treatable if detected in time. Cuba has a well-organized civil defense system and scrambled to fight last year's outbreak, with workers handing out chlorine and water purification drops and quarantining hospital patients with diarrhea. The government also mounted a campaign to raise awareness about good hygiene. Education Minister Ronna Thwaites made it clear it was education first and foremost as he addressed the Jamaica's Teachers Association 49th Annual Conference at Sunset Jamaica Grande in Ocho Rios, St. Anne yesterday. The minister acknowledged a difficult past few months between the teachers' union and his ministry, during which he admitted he might have said sharp words that hurt feelings. He added later in his presentation, "If we fall to quarreling, how can we expect children to do otherwise?" Thwaites asked for a respectful working relationship between his ministry and the JTA going forward. But when called upon to move the vote of thanks at the end of the session, President-elect Duran Dixon deviated, saying he was going to make a few comments because he feels pressured into doing so. In his comments, Dixon said, among other things, that as an employee of the Ministry of Education, it was the duty of his employer to seek to treat with his welfare issues in an honest and open way. As he continued, newly installed President Dr. Mark Neasley intervened. Responded Dixon, "I am doing the vote of thanks, Mr. President." Mr. President said, "Well, I am going to ask you to restrict your vote of thanks to a vote of thanks." However, Dixon continued on his original course before giving the vote of thanks in a terse manner. Dixon said, and I quote, "At the insistence of the President, I want to thank the ministry team for having visited with us this morning, and I want to thank you, my colleagues, for having participated in this process." Later, some teachers spoke openly of the incident, saying they had been offended by Dixon's behavior. Weeks before being voted in as president-elect, Dixon came under fire for likening the minister to a mongrel dog. You're watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.
Mom, let you take your car out. This is awesome.
It's time to grow up.
You're crazy.
Little wildflower.
Go faster. Stop.
It'll all be alright.
I raised my son to be careful,
Hey, sweetie.
Hey, Mom.
but just to be safe,
So don't you worry.
I got a Subaru.
Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Coleman Subaru, 1710 North Alden Avenue, Ewing, New Jersey, or ColemanSubaru.com.
Hey, excuse me, if you see me smiling, that's 'cause I'm chilling on Total Caribbean Network. This your boy Wyclef Jean, man, and I'm chillin', man. Total Caribbean Network. Man, I love their style. Whoa, 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 whoa,